The League of Beer and Comics. We're a weekly podcast where myself and my compatriots in the geekdom that is craft beer and independent and mainstream comics, we just drink and we review comics and we talk about our experiences, hopefully giving you guys the motivation and inspiration to pick up different small batch brewers or sort of beers that you may have not tried before, and the same with comics, you know, having a wee dip into the independent comic scene or your local comic scene even, and maybe even trying a new mainstream series that you hadn't thought of before. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at The Brewgooders, and you'll probably find us in some way, shape or form. You can pick up our podcast on most of, if not all of, the major podcast streams, Castbox, we're on in iTunes, we're on Spotify, you can find us in Deezer, anywhere, Podomatic, anywhere where you pick up your podcast, you will probably find us. And yeah, this week it's a bit different. We're going to be talking about our week in geekdom. You know, every so often we have this beautiful stars aligning week where different events and different things kind of correlate. This week was the 8th birthday of Tiny Rebel, which is a brewery that we are very, very fond of. So different pubs in Edinburgh and actually all over the world, in fact, have been doing tap takeovers, which is a weird event where where the main fonts at the front of the bar will be completely tied up with a specific brewery to celebrate the event. Obviously, this week was no different for Tiny Rebel, and we got some really interesting events happening all over the place as a result of that. Also, yesterday, Friday, the 14th of February, was the first day of Capital Sci-Fi Con, which is Edinburgh's first sci-fi and comic convention event of the year, to my mind. It's also a really nice event because it's run for charity, so I'll be talking about that a little bit later on. Yeah, I'll talk a wee bit about the Thursday night evening. The tap takeover evening, like most of the things I planned, took a total bizarre turn. I had intended to spend the evening in the Lothian Road Innocent Gun tap room in Edinburgh, where that was one of the major places where they would have 8 Tiny Rebel beers on tap for their 8th birthday celebration. And they were doing this cool thing where like there was 8 individual beers, but if you picked specific combinations of 2 of them, you can mix them together and actually come out with another 4 beers. So there was like 12 in total, and I went there with the intention of trying all these combinations, but it was £5.25 for a half pint of beer, and that's just too expensive for my blood. So I got there, I picked up a beer that I was really looking forward to. I was also looking forward to blending them all, but yeah, as I said, £5.25. I don't know how that translates in dollars, but we're looking at like $8 or $9 for a half pint, mind you, not a full pint, a half pint. And I was raging with that. I completely understand that it was a one-off event. It was the 8th birthday, but I just felt like I was taking a piss a wee bit. And I later on found out it ultimately was. And I don't know whose fault it was. I don't know if Innocent Gun. I don't know how the pricing in these things work, but I just would not have rested knowing that this was going on, and I wanted to call this up. You know, I'm a craft beer lover. I recognise that there's deviations and differences in pricing for specific beers. I just £5.25 for a half pint is probably twice as much as I would normally expect to pay for a half pint, even if it's on a special or that. Which is kind of disappointing because the beer I had was cracking. It was called Paradise City, and it was a Laurel and Mosaic New England IPA or an IPA. It was cracking, to be fair, really sweet and fruity. It reminded me of the Club Tropicana that Tiny Rebel do with extra zest. It was 6.8%. It was really good. I could have made a session around this thing, but £5.25. Did I say £5.25 already? My friend had one was called Shake and Bake, which reminded me of those protein shakes that you sometimes get in the gym. I have them sometimes. It tasted like that mixed with water. It was actually really, really pleasant. I'm not going to complain too much about it. I've seen loads of different stuff online. Again, the price, I actually probably could have built a session around it. that's my main complaint about this whole event. And I actually asked my friend Craig, who was with me and who drinks in Edinburgh. I mean, he lives in Edinburgh, sorry, he doesn't just drink in Edinburgh. I asked him how he got drunk in Edinburgh, because I was thinking, you know, you're paying between £5 and £6 for half pint for these beers, so that, you know, even if you just worked on the off chance that you were going to try all 8 and of the new ones and do the 4 combinations, which by the way you were probably looking somewhere between £60 and £80, because you would have to have bought the 4 combinations as half pints. So you were basically buying, how does that work out? You were buying, about £80, because you were having to buy 4 at 8 and then 8 again if you wanted to try all the combinations. Is that right? My maths is shit. Somebody will correct me, but that's fine. I say I'm not one to complain. Craft beer can be a bit pricey, but I was not into this at all. So we ended up moving to a place which I'm going to put in, once I remember what it's called, I'm going to put it around my head somewhere right now. But we moved on to a place down towards Stockbridge, with the aim going to go down to the Stockbridge Tap. What was really, really cool about the place we're in, it was really quiet, it was really soft, lit in, and it was a really nice place to spend a wee bit of time drinking. And we shared, what I was quite excited to say, was we shared the Old Blue Lady Lager that Vice do. The Vice, the channel that does all the really controversial kind of, like, I wouldn't say left, I don't know, but they do a lot of kind of controversial documentaries about social issues and different social issues. They do kind of prison documentaries. They do a really cool series called The Dark Side of Wrestling. They're just a really cool channel. They do like reporting about North Korea and stuff like that. A really, really interesting channel. Some crazy cooking programs and stuff like that. But they have their own lager, which I knew existed, but I didn't know where to get it. And then we were in this shop, and we were in this beer pub place. Sorry, it was a bar. It was like a gastro pub. And we were in there, and I was speaking to the barman and asked him what he had behind the counter. Just having a wee look in the fridges, which must look really weird if you work behind the bar, because you've just got this guy kind of peering over, looking at the fridges behind the bar. And so he was talking me through it, and they had some really nice stuff. They had Pilot, they had Beavertown, which I also dropped into. They had Brewdog, and then they had this Vice Lager. Again, I was really excited, so I ordered that, and it was fine. It was a lager. Now that's what I've written in my notes. It was a lager. It was a bit citrusy. Had a wee bit of zest. It was pleasant, but I know lagers and I know where to get nicer ones, so that was fine. I want to make a quick throw out to. I want to throw a quick nod out to places like Beath Brewing, who do their own lager. I know that Seven Kings Brewery do the one that's got the lemongrass in it, which is probably my favourite lager at the moment. I'm going to get corrected and told it's not a lager, but it's really nice. If I remember it correctly, it's called Hero King. If it's not called Hero King, strike me down, get in the contacts and that. Some really, really, really beautiful lagers out there, craft lagers as well, so it's really good. But at the moment, Beath Brew and Seven Kings do some really good ones, and you should check them out. In terms of the other beers, I kind of waffled on a wee bit there, but I had Quench Quake by Brewdog. I'll make sure I say that right. Quench Quake by Brewdog, which is a watermelon. It was not watermelon, grapefruit and tangerine sour is what it was. Watermelon. I've actually been buying watermelon ice lollies for my son just now, and that's just kind of, it's like, do you get watermelon beer? Let me know. That sounds amazing. But yeah, tangerine and grapefruit sour. I hate sours. Well, not hate. Hate's a strong word. And actually, I've discovered some recently that I like. I also want to check out Vault City's Iron Brew one, because their mango chili one was really good, right? But they have this currently Brewdog, who we don't review a lot on the show because a bit too mainstream and it would be a bit too uncool to review them, to be honest. But no, I'm joking. Just haven't had the time to. We haven't had the inclination to look at Brewdog yet. My friend bought this in, so we'll forgive him for being a bit of a charlatan when it comes to being a small craft brewing podcast. My friend Craig bought this Quench Quake sour, and it was really good. It was just like drinking juice. It had a cidery quality to it, which I also kind of associate sometimes with sours. Really good. I'm going to have more of that, and I'm actually quite excited about trying out different sours. I think the grapefruit and the tangerine were very overpowering scents, and I think that's maybe pulled away from. I've had sours that have had really, really sour sours. Tiny Rebel, we'll come back to them because it's their evening. They've got one called Framboise, which I have reviewed in the show before and I haven't really enjoyed. So no, it was good to have a beer that I really, really liked. Beavertown have this black IPA called Black Betty IPA. My friend also picked that up for us. That's really, really good. Check it out. I'm not going to say too much about it just because I don't want to keep people blah, oh no, I tried this beer and it was alright, tried it. It was really good. And we actually went to our final pub of the evening, what I want to give a massive round of applause and heads up to. They featured on the show before, but the Stockbridge Tap in Stockbridge, which is in the area of Edinburgh. It's a really up and coming area of Edinburgh. It's quite posh. I really like it. My friends lived in there. So yeah, they have a really nice pub called the Stockbridge Tap that's all featured quite a lot in the craft beer world. We've just been really, really good and trying some interesting things. Now I didn't realise, but they were actually involved in, they had 4 of the 8 beers, not all of them, but 4 of the 8 beers that Tiny Rebel had put out for this tap takeover event. So I wish I'd actually just started the evening there, because I noticed for a whole pint, it was £7, which is still quite expensive, but for £7 you were getting a pint that you were getting of the same beer that was going to cost you £5.25 for a half 15-minute walk up the hill. Yeah, you have to, it's off to be in track a wee bit in Stockbridge. For those that don't really know the town, wandering off the High Street area, your Princess Street, your Lothian Road, your George Street, and coming down into Stockbridge might be a bit daunting, but if you just trust in your Google map, it's a 15-minute walk from the centre of Edinburgh, and there's some really exciting pubs with some really exciting beers on tap. So we were in there. My last beer of the evening I had was called a $5 Shake by Tiny Rebel. It wasn't part of the tap takeover, but it was one I had tried before, and it was coming in at less than a £5 for a pint, so of course I went for that. I got that. My friend bought the old favourite, everybody's favourite Stay Puffed. He bought the salt caramel variety for £4.50 a pint. £4.50 a pint of Tiny Rebel in a central Edinburgh-ish pub is amazing. And yeah, Stockbridge Tap, well done. Go down there. We were there last year for, they often do Lee events. They did like Cross Borders Brewing, did like a really cool tap takeover there last year. Really, really good. Really good value for money for those that want to partake in craft beer. That's definitely a location that should be probably really high up in your map of craft beer places to visit. After I got home, which was quite late, and I went to bed yesterday for Valentine's Day, I spent it with the boys, which was amazing. I took my 2 sons and my good friend, co-host of the show, Colin. We went to Capital Sci-Fi Con in Edinburgh to partake in all the geekiness that you get in a sci-fi convention. It was really, really cool. All sort of profits from the event go to CHAS, which is the Children's Hospice Association for Scotland. So a really incredible event, one quite close to my heart, because my children have friends that have had to, unfortunately, be looked after by CHAS. Phenomenal organisation, and one that I'm going to just fire a link on somewhere in our show notes you should check out. This was great. So my opinion is it's just really good value as these things go. These things can be quite pricey, entrance fee plus. I take my kids, so you're obviously having to buy them something because there's just so much cool things. You'd be a total dick of a dad if you weren't like giving them some sort of budget to just buy what they want. What I really liked about Capital Sci-Fi Con is there's just so much to do. It's so much to see, and it's not a massive convention. I mean, it's in the Edinburgh Corn Exchange, which is quite a big venue. It's got a huge hall that hosts some really big bands. It's got some conference suites, and it's got a sort of another smaller suite that's not as big as the main hall, but I've seen like wrestling and that in there. It can comfortably fit quite a number of people, and throughout the venue, you could probably get a good couple of thousand in there. I was very lucky. I went on the Friday day, so you're getting all the different stall holders and comic guests and television guests and staff at their brightest and earliest in the convention. I've been to conventions on a Sunday, and there's sometimes a kind of unchilled vibe. There's folk packing up, there's folk kind of annoyed. Last year when I went to MCM, for example, I went in Comics Alley on a Sunday and I met a couple of folk that I knew, and they were all just a bit pissed off because Comics Alley was kind of away from the main hall and stuff, and MCM is very much a kind of memorabilia and like prop, and it's all about the cosplay and about the excitement of the guests. And the comic guys were, despite having been the only trade that's actually got their name in the title of the convention, we're kind of outside and kind of lost in the shuffle of things. This kind of falls into that category. I mean, there was a bit where there was comic writers, nowhere near as many as I was getting to see. However, I just thought it was a sci-fi con rather than a sci-fi comic con. So I suppose to some extent that is that's totally forgivable. Some really interesting yes there yesterday and all throughout the weekend. Obviously, Colin Baker, who was the sixth Doctor in Doctor Who, was the marquee attraction. To my estimation, he was anyway. I watched him when I was a kid, so I was quite excited that he was there. And yeah, I'm going to kind of just talk you through what I saw as I walked around. It was really, really good. Great value for money. It was like £30 for a family of 4. So me and Colin went split, saved a wee bit of money each way, including Colin got a wee bit of money off in his petrol because he came and jumped in the car with me and the boys. It was just really, really good. I'm just very, very quickly. Apologies about background noise right now if my son's watching the telly next door and he listens and watches some really weird stuff on YouTube. Saying that you might be watching this on YouTube, so we can't really get a comment or judge too much. We should go in. I was just, as I say, morale and excitement was quite high. The comic convention had just opened up for the weekend. It was also on a Friday, which isn't a traditional comic book day. It was in the week, so still a lot of folk were working. Same my dad. I'm also a teacher, so it's midterm break for us, which was really, really good. As you entered the place, you entered the atrium. It was the first kind of area you entered in, and they had like the Ghostbusters of Glasgow were there, the Steampunk Society of Glasgow, who Colin's kind of a member, so he'll probably rap me in the knuckles for not getting their name 100% right, which I probably should have known before now. There was just loads of really different cosplay groups and societies. It was really, really smart. As you left the atrium into like the back lot area, which was kind of surreal because there was a lot of five-a-side football going on. At the back wall, but they had some of the Urwilly bucket guys outside, which were all over Edinburgh and Glasgow and Dundee, maybe not Glasgow, Dundee actually, because that's where Urwilly is made. It's a DC Thompson thing, I believe. There was loads of these bucket guys. They had 8 of them at the convention centre, so it's quite cool to see them. I spent a lot of time with my kids going around and doing the bucket trail. That was quite smart. And they also had Bumblebee and Barricade from Transformers parked outside. The cars, not the robots, obviously. I've seen them before. They were in the Glenrothes Comic Convention I went to a couple of years ago. But they're just really, really smart. They're really, really obviously high class cars. Just really nice to see. And they also had that blue car that flies in Harry Potter. That was there as well. And I understand that's the thing that's got quite a lot of local press before we went having to see it. It's just nice to take your kids out and look around cars. The main hall, which was where most of the activity was happening, had a lot of the back wall had the guests. So as I say, Colin Baker, not Tom Baker. Google go with me if Tom Baker was there. Colin Baker, who's our 6th Doctor, was there. Jimmy V, who is one of the operators for R2-D2, was there. And the guy from Raven, whose name always escapes me, but everyone knows who he is because he's on CBBC and stuff like that. And then some numerous other guys. Regrettably, don't watch Game of Thrones. There was a Game of Thrones guy there. Some other Star Warsy guys there. It was pretty cool. It's cool that you were able to come to a convention, and if that's your hobby, those guys were there. There was a comic lane. The Woodland Creatures folk were there. Who Colin, I know, has his backed on Kickstarter, so he's seen issue 1. He says it's really good. There's loads of these other things as well. It's a good value for money. My family did this thing called it's like a secret Valentine thing. My 2 kids, my wife and I, we all put like our names in the hat. We all pull out. We all have to go buy each other a Valentine's gift. It was a cool place for my kids, and as a result of that, as a result of being at the convention, I've got some really cool stuff. I got this for my son, which I think he gets special punts for. He got me a Super Friends comic that cost 15p. Once things have calmed down for the day, I'm going to have a look at that, and I might even review it just because it was a gift from my son, and he knows his dad. That's really cool. Even just the fact it's called Super Friends, and it's just a vintage comic. Really, really nice of him to do that for me. There was a kids zone in the back corner of the convention centre. There was a really cool space where it was like, what's this arts and crafty stuff? You were donating to Chaz the whole time, which made the whole thing kind of worthwhile anyway. But you were able to like build Lego stuff. If you're a kid, you could build your Lego stuff and then put in a donation and take your Lego away. That was really cool. It's also arts and crafts stuff. So you were making wands and lightsabers out of nunchucks out of chopsticks. Sorry, that makes me seem quite culturally insensitive. I can swear down I'm not right. So you had that, and then the collective were in this back space. That's probably my only, if I was to make any sort of like, you need to sort this out towards the convention, and actually on the whole it was kind of perfect, to be honest, as conventions go. The collective, who do a lot of the Jerry Anderson models, they build and I think collect these models. Really, really smart. Loads of stuff from like Space 1999, Thunderbird, Stingray, Captain Scarlet. So yeah, if we're going to say anything, the collective stuff's really smart, and I spoke to a couple of guys there, really kind of blown away. Interesting, really geeky conversations. I really like how you can see the different scales. I assume these are accurate, but the different scales between like the Thunderbird's heads and Captain Scarlet and the Mysteron heads. That was something that always kind of fascinated me as a kid, and it was just cool to see these models. There was a Thunderbird 1 with like kind of the rolling background thing that I knew how they did, and it was just cool to see that kind of in practice and what that would have kind of looked like in principle. It was really smart, but it was kind of out in the middle of nowhere. You had to kind of walk through this area, unless like you knew it was there. And let's be honest, a lot of us geeks kind of reread the different product maps and programs quite significantly. So it probably the fact of where it was might not have been an issue, but I felt it was kind of out the way. It's just the way that the convention centre is kind of laid out, I suppose. There was this really cool room where you had the different sort of layouts from different films, and I've seen that sort of stuff before. Obviously, we talked about it last year at the kind of geeky weekend we had in Dunfermline last year. There was it was a bit like that. So you had loads of different things. I've got some really cool photos of Colin and my sons and me messing around with stuff. I'll put them on Facebook so you can see what I'm talking about. You had like Thanos' chair, you had a shark that you could climb inside, so you looked like you were getting eaten like in the last scene of Jaws. There was a Harry Potter broom, there was a Borg chamber, there was K9 was driving around, so you can go and get a photograph of him, which I did. There was a really cool wall thing, so it looked like you were climbing a wall like they did in the Batman cartoons, and then you took the photograph, and then the old 66 series, beg my pardon before anyone gives me a route, right? You took a photograph of that and then you rotated it on your camera so it looked like you were climbing up the wall. It's really smart. That was just, I've seen these rooms before, I've been in these sort of, and I think they're kind of the unsung heroes of these kind of conventions. It's just an excuse for you and your pals to take photos and have a laugh. Also, so I sat with my youngest son Sonny and we watched the Colin Baker Q&A kind of session that was going on. That was really cool. It was interesting. If you must know, Colin Baker's favourite doctor that isn't him is Jodie Whittaker, which is really cool. And he made an interesting point, so I'm going to go a wee bit political very briefly. He made this really cool point about how when a doctor or a Time Lord regenerates, he regenerates all his atoms, so every atom is replaced, and he always found it was weird that they all replaced except the one for gender. So all these people that are like kind of complaining about the gender reassignment of the Master and the Doctor, he was like, it should have happened so many times before now, and it was really exciting to hear that from somebody that was on the show. He was like one of the guys, he was the Doctor, and he was like, actually we should have had more women by now, and it's ridiculous that we haven't until now. So there you go, straight from like the Doctor's mouth, this had to happen. And not so yeah, it was really cool to see. As I say, a great day was had. It was really exciting and excellent way to spend that Friday. I'm going to try and tack them all into the show notes. I'm not very good at that sometimes, but great value for 30 quid, family 4, loads of stuff to do. Actually, you weren't paying just to wander around and see stalls. There was that element, but there was just so much other stuff going on. It was cool to check out with like guys like Michael Philp were there, so able to chat to him, just be able to chat to folk. Everybody was really cool. My kids, everybody was lovely, everybody was respectful. A great way to spend a Friday. Congratulations to the Capital Sci-Fi Con guys. That weekend is still going on. You guys are going to be knackered. You need to know that you're knackered because you did a really excellent job. And I look forward to all the stuff that you do throughout the year, which I hope to engage with and much more. If you are still listening, if you're still following us, Colin's just about to come on, hopefully. Let me know what you think of my part, let me know what you think of Colin's part, all that kind of stuff. Just get involved in the discussion. It's Saturday at time of recording, so tonight at some point I'll be doing my customary here's a beer. What are you drinking tonight? Get involved, tell us what we should be drinking, tell us what we shouldn't be drinking, tell us what we should be reading, tell us what you're reading. That would be absolutely amazing. At the Brewgooders on Twitter, Spotify, probably on Spotify. At the Brewgooders on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, definitely. We look forward to you being part of our community and just getting involved. A couple of really cool news items just to finish off my section before we move on. Feel free to skip a minute if you can't be bothered with adverts. If this part of the podcast bores you, I have a Kickstarter opened. I wrote a comic last year called The Spirit of Enki. I've got an amazing artist called JC Jordan. He's just finished doing drawing, and I'm currently colouring, and I've got my friend Craig in lettering. That's all about to happen. Colin's doing some bits for it as well, so we've got some really, really cool stretch goals. But please check out at The Spirit of Enki, Enki spelled E-N-K-I. It's a Sumerian god for anyone that wants to know what the hell I'm talking about. But check out at The Spirit of Enki on all your social medias, so Twitter, Instagram and Facebook are the three that I tend to use. I think it's the ones everyone uses. Just check us out there, follow us, let us know what's going on. Check out my Kickstarter, I'll have the link in the show notes. Please just, you can fire me a quid. Colin's going to wrap my knuckles because he never did this for his Kickstarters, but I never told him he couldn't. And the other big news is the Brewgooders have been invited to Fife Camera, which is the society. CAMRA's an acronym for something that I can't quite remember, but our real ale's in there. And I should probably know again, I'm so bloody unprepared. But I'll be in the show notes, right? So the Fife Camera have asked the Brewgooders to come and help judge their Fife beer festivals beer of the year. So we're sending me, and I get to spend an evening drinking, but I'll be part of this larger beer community for a week, and it's going to be really exciting. So as we get closer to the time, I'm going to put up information about the beers that I'm going to be reviewing at the time. Let me know what you think, and we'll try and just build up a bit of buzz for a festival and another charity organisation. So that charitable organisation, that'd be really, really good. Thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you all next week. Please stay tuned for Colin's bits and pieces, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you soon.
So hi there, I'm doing a quick review now of a book that I read that I got through a Kickstarter campaign. It's called Heart of Steel, and it's by Katie Fleming and Fraser Campbell. The blurb tells me that Fraser wanted to make a story that could be read by his teenage daughter, because most of his other stories are quite dark and kind of mind-bending. So Heart of Steel is a bit of a kind of breezy teenage sci-fi story. It follows the main character Tony, who steals an actual heart. This is part one of a series. I'm not sure when the rest of the series is coming out, but this part one is almost completely a chase sequence. So we follow Tony as in the sort of aftermath of her stealing the heart, and she's trying to get away from the authorities. There's a rooftop chase, there's a speeder bike chase through the city as well. There's a whole bunch of kind of sci-fi gadgets that sometimes hinder or help Tony's progress. The book reminds me, I think, art style of the kind of stuff that Tanya Roberts does. We reviewed Plagued a few weeks ago, which is written by Gary Chudley and drawn by Tanya Roberts. And it's got a kind of similar style, very kind of action orientated. And I really liked it. I think it hits the target audience perfectly, sort of maybe young teenage market who's maybe quite into sci-fi, and I think also having a female protagonist as well will open it up to perhaps more girls reading the story as well. So a nice one from Fraser, a welcome departure from some of this darker stuff that he does, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the rest of the series.